24 years old facing the death penalty.
Yeah.
How do you come to grips with that?
It's kind of like how you do time. You do it. And the grips were, I remember asking God to let me die with dignity.
While many have tried and failed, one man made history by mysteriously escaping the death penalty. Danny Trejo is more than just an actor and movie director. He is a former drug addict, armed robber, and prisoner known in countless juvenile detention centers, correctional facilities, and jails across California. When the world and Danny himself thought little of what would become of him and where he would end up, one strange technicality permanently changed the course of his life. How did he escape the death penalty, and why did he receive the most feared sentence in the first place? Join us as we go down memory lane to the trials, highs, and lows that define the once feared Danny Trejo. Early life and jail time. In the first few years of his life, Danny Trejo had no positive goal, passion, or direction, so it is no surprise he had such a wild life of crime and addiction. While he was aware of his dangerous lifestyle, he had no idea he would one day be close to losing his life on the death penalty. However, his rocky life experiences did not start in prison or the dangerous parts of California, selling drugs. It all started in the Echo Park neighborhood of the city of Los Angeles. Danny Trejo was born on May 16, 1944, to Mexican-American parents, Dolores Rivera King and Dionisio Dan Trejo, a construction worker. His birth was the result of an extramarital affair, as his mother's husband was serving in World War II at the time, and it seemed like he wouldn't return alive. Trejo had a maternal half-sister, Dian, but was estranged from both his mother and half-sister because his father forbade his mother from seeing him after an incident where Trejo injured his arm while in her care. Living with his father was hell, and Trejo was often abused by him. After Danny Trejo's birth, his family temporarily relocated to San Antonio, Texas, to escape the legal troubles of his father, Dionisio Trejo, who was wanted by the police for stabbing someone. They returned to Los Angeles a year later, and Dionisio surrendered to the authorities. By 1949, Trejo was living with his cousins at his grandmother's house, sharing a room with them. During this time, his stepmother, Alice Mendias, was his source of comfort and support, particularly when he was living with his father. Another family member Danny Trejo loved was his uncle Gilbert, whom he idolized. Although Gilbert was Danny Trejo's uncle by relation, in reality, he was more like an older brother to him because they only had a 6-year age gap. In a 2014 interview with Mario Lopez, Trejo fondly remembered his uncle's influence. He told host Lopez that his uncle always made a confident impression. He also, though Gilbert had a lot of money, so he looked up to him. Because Danny Trejo viewed Gilbert as his role model, they often hung out, and Danny wanted to learn all Gilbert knew. Gilbert started by teaching Trejo how to box, but unfortunately later on he also introduced him to drugs. Trejo started smoking marijuana at just 8 years old and witnessed his uncle using heroin for the first time when he was 12. Curious to know how smoking marijuana would feel, he threatened to tell on Gilbert if he didn't let him smoke some. His uncle agreed, and over time, he became addicted. It was at this point that things consistently got worse. As a young drug addict, Danny Trejo started a life of crime, participating in a series of armed robberies alongside his uncle to fund their severe addiction. Partly because he was a rookie robber, Trejo was often caught, so he had to spend much of his youth in and out of various juvenile detention centers across California. He was first locked up at Eastlake Juvenile Hall. At the age of 13, he moved to the predominantly Hispanic neighborhood of Pacoima in Los Angeles, where for the first time, he experienced the feeling of being accepted in a community free from racism. This touching feeling of belonging made him dream of purchasing his childhood home in Pacoima, in hopes of later returning to live in the place where he found solace and truly felt at home. Throughout the 1960s, Trejo spent most of his time in California prisons, including countless juvenile offenders camps. One particularly unforgettable incident during this period happened at Camp Glen Rocky in San Dimas, where he spent 3 years after attacking a sailor, stabbing him in the face with broken glass. That marked the end of his juvenile sentences as he transitioned into adulthood. As a legal adult, his prison sentences took him to various facilities, including San Quentin, Folsom, Soledad, Vacaville, Susanville, and Sierra. In 1962, after being released from youth training school, a notoriously tough California juvenile prison, Danny Trejo met his first wife, Laura. Against her parents' disapproval, the couple married in a backyard ceremony at Trejo's family home. However, Trejo's ongoing drug use and criminal behavior ultimately led to the downfall of their marriage, with Laura filing for divorce during his second stint at youth training school. Shortly after his release from prison for a stabbing incident, Trejo returned to his old ways, selling drugs once again. This decision led to another dangerous encounter, as he unknowingly sold 4 ounces of fake heroin to an undercover federal agent. Danny Trejo's troubles escalated when he was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where his heroin addiction worsened. He became knee-deep in the prison's criminal underworld, working as a debt collector and drug dealer, and was frequently involved in or witnessed violent incidents, including murder. Trying to survive in this rough environment, Trejo enjoyed boxing, becoming a champion in both the lightweight and welterweight divisions. However, his temper and penchant for trouble eventually caught up with him. During a prison riot, Trejo threw a rock at someone, but it struck a guard instead, leaving him seriously injured. Trejo claims he was aiming for someone else, but the incident still landed him in solitary confinement. In solitary confinement, isolated from the outside world and his fellow inmates, Danny Trejo busied himself by acting out his favorite movie scenes in his mind. However, nothing could take away the harsh reality of his situation. Facing 3 capital offenses and with a lengthy criminal record, Trejo was convinced he would be sentenced to death row. Desperate and hopeless, he turned to prayer, telling God that if he could hear him, everything would be all right. But if God couldn't and wasn't going to be by his side, Trejo knew he was screwed. Trejo credits this moment as the turning point in his life because it was that one prayer that changed his life, and you're about to see how. With a new interest in religion, Danny Trejo's intentional journey towards redemption began when he joined a 12-step program, which he initially attended at the age of 15 by chance. While incarcerated, he also earned his high school diploma. Surprisingly, the charges against him were dropped due to a very strange technicality. There were no witnesses to testify. This was strange and sounded impossible because 3,000 inmates saw the incident play out. Danny Trejo counted himself fortunate, and it was a new beginning for him. Ready to right his wrongs, he realized that drugs and alcohol were the common factors in his past troubles. With a renewed determination to finally turn his life around, Trejo was released from prison in July 1969, after having served 5 years of his 10-year sentence. He returned to Pacoima, Los Angeles to start afresh, hopeful for things to start looking up for him. For 15 years after he escaped the death penalty, Danny Trejo struggled to make a living. He worked different jobs, including counseling, landscaping, and even participating in unofficial backyard boxing matches. In the 1980s, he worked with Western Pacific MedCorp, helping to establish and operate sober living houses in the San Fernando Valley. It was during this time that he met a young man with tattoos who worked as a film extra, earning $50 a day. This chance encounter sparked Trejo's interest in the film industry, initially as a way to earn easy money and promote his work with Western Pacific MedCorp. He signed with an agent and began networking on film sets, handing out his contact information in hopes of finding more opportunities to help those in need. Then, in 1985, his big break finally came, mon debut in the movie industry. One night, Danny Trejo received a call from an 18-year-old client he was counseling. The teenager was struggling to overcome a cocaine addiction. The client was worried about relapsing due to the pervasive drug use among his coworkers at his job. Trejo revealed in an interview that he went to meet the client, expecting to visit him at a warehouse, but instead found himself on the set of the film Runaway Train, where the client worked as a production assistant. As Trejo arrived, his striking appearance quickly caught the attention of the crew. Before long, a producer approached him and asked if he'd be interested in appearing as an extra in a prison scene. This was a golden opportunity that became the beginning of his acting career. When Danny Trejo removed his shirt, revealing his iconic chest tattoo, screenwriter Edward Bunker immediately recognized him. Bunker, who had also spent time in jail, remembered Trejo as a formidable boxing champion at San Quentin State Prison. He described their unexpected encounter on the movie set as a divine intervention. Coincidentally, the filmmakers were searching for a boxing expert to train the lead actor, Eric Roberts. Trejo's impressive boxing skills, which he showcased during impromptu sessions behind the scenes, caught the attention of director Andrei Konchalovsky. Edward Bunker, who had also spotted Trejo's talent, quickly convinced Andrei Konchalovsky to give him a small part in the film, and not just waste his potential off-screen as a boxing coach. Edward believed his personal experience in prison would bring authenticity to the movie's plot. At the time, Trejo didn't realize he was even being typecast in prison roles. He was just grateful for the opportunity and happy that he was working. His first credited role was in Penitentiary the Third, where he crossed paths with Anthony Gambino, a member of the notorious Gambino crime family, who had invested in the film and was visiting the set to meet the lead actor, Leon Isaac Kennedy. Danny Trejo earned a daily rate of $120 in cash, but the project frequently went into overtime, resulting in a lucrative payout. In interviews, he mentions he was always stacked with cash. By 1989, he could take home up to $700 in a good month just from his work as an extra. He remembers people often assuming he was much wealthier because of how frequently he was appearing on TV. While their perception was false, Trejo found that it worked in his favor as a drug counselor, as clients would recognize him from his acting work and appreciate his humility and dedication to his counseling activities. Things continued to get better, and by 1990, Danny Trejo had amassed an impressive filmography of over a dozen movies, including Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, and Marked for Death. While he enjoyed working on the film Guns, he recalls an incident involving co-star Eric Estrada. According to Trejo, Estrada grew resentful of the cast and crew's fondness for him, allowing his ego to get the better of him. Trejo claims that Estrada orchestrated a downgrade in travel arrangements, relegating Trejo and several others to coach class instead of first class for the flight to Hawaii, where filming was set to take place. In 1991, Edward James Olmos offered Danny Trejo the role of Pedro Santana in American Me. However, Trejo was underwhelmed by the script and his initial meeting with Olmos. Rumors began circulating within the Mexican mafia that the script was taking creative liberties, which further deterred Trejo. Before he could attend a second meeting with Olmos, he received a call from Joe Pegleg Morgan, the leader of the Mexican mafia at the time, who encouraged him to choose a role in Blood In, Blood Out instead. Trejo eventually accepted the latter role, a decision he believes Olmos has yet to forgive, as he stated in 2021 that Olmos still doesn't regard him as a serious actor. Of all his experiences of Blood In, Blood Out, Trejo remembers feeling very uncomfortable during rehearsals as he was surrounded by more successful actors. The production's setting at San Quentin State Prison, where Trejo had previously served time, stirred up memories and flashbacks that made him feel horrible anxiety. To make matters worse, they had to film scenes in C550, his former cell, which brought back too many hurtful emotions he couldn't handle. Regardless, Trejo still attributes his breakthrough to international stardom to his role in Blood In, Blood Out, often mentioning it brought him legitimate worldwide fame and not popularity for being the man that escaped the death penalty. That's not all. Another silver lining during the filming of Blood In, Blood Out was Danny Trejo's encounter with Mario Castillo, a prisoner struggling with drug addiction. Trejo's support and guidance helped Castillo overcome his addiction, and they quickly became friends after Castillo was released from prison. They have since shared their experiences at several juvenile detention centers and recovery centers across California. With Raymond Cruz's assistance, Trejo found a new talent agent, and he was able to get roles in an episode of Baywatch and Kiefer Sutherland's directorial debut, Last Light, in 1993. Danny Trejo then landed a role in the film Heat, reuniting him with director Michael Mann, who had previously worked with him on the TV miniseries Drug Wars, The Camarena Story. Interestingly, Mann initially mistook Trejo for his uncle Gilbert, because he realized they shared a very strange resemblance. Mann had met Gilbert while filming The Jericho Mile at Folsom Prison in the late 1970s, where Gilbert was respected among the inmates. Because of their resemblance and to honor his uncle Gilbert. The filming periods of Heat were quite stressful for Trejo as they lasted 17 hours or more per day, but Trejo didn't mind. In fact, he was grateful for the opportunity to learn by watching how De Niro, Kilmer, and Voight saved their best performances for when it mattered. He often remembers being mentored by Robert De Niro, who was his favorite patient and instructive scene partner. Trejo and De Niro worked together to improvise Trejo's death scene. After the filming of Heat ended, Trejo's acting moves didn't end. More acting roles. In 1996, Danny Trejo appeared in the French film Le Jaguar and reunited with Jon Voight in Anaconda, both of which were filmed in Manaus, Brazil. During his downtime, Trejo would venture out to socialize, but when production moved to Venezuela, the situation became precarious due to political unrest and safety concerns. On one occasion, a group of teenagers even approached him, brandishing AK-47s and demanding his combat boots. As a result, Trejo negotiated a higher salary to ensure his safety, opting to remain within the confines of his hotel for the duration of the shoot. In 1997, Danny Trejo's personal life had an interesting update. He got married to Debbie Shreve, his second wife, and their marriage seemed to be off to a great start. Meanwhile, Trejo's acting career continued to thrive, with a role in the action-packed film Con Air, where he found himself among a cast of pranksters. He fondly recalls Nicolas Cage as cool as hell, and John Cusack as a kickboxing badass. The set of Con Air also marked the beginning of many lasting friendships, including those with John Malkovich, Ving Rhames, Steve Buscemi, and Dave Chappelle, all of whom would become close friends and colleagues in the years to come. After wrapping up Animal Factory in 1999, Danny Trejo faced a health setback, contracting hepatitis C, which left him feeling drained. Despite his condition, he pushed through, traveling from Canada to Austin, Texas, to start filming Spy Kids in 2000. This project was a special milestone as it introduced Trejo's iconic character, Isidore Machete Cortez. Reuniting with Robert Rodriguez, Antonio Banderas, and Cheech Marin, with whom he had previously worked on Desperado and From Dusk Till Dawn, felt like a joyful reunion. Spy Kids catapulted Trejo to global stardom, making him an instantly recognizable figure among children worldwide, a newfound level of recognition that he had not experienced before. During the filming of Bubble Boy in 2001, Danny Trejo's health deteriorated significantly due to his struggles with hepatitis C, a consequence of his past drug use. His weight loss was noticeable to the cast, and he appeared pale and weak throughout the production. Trejo was preoccupied with keeping his diagnosis private, fearing professional repercussions in Hollywood. He struggled to remember his lines due to the medication he was taking, which left him feeling disoriented. However, by the time Spy Kids premiered in September 2002, Trejo had made a full recovery and was back on his feet. In the 2000s, Danny Trejo had an impressive career and continued to reach new heights. He appeared in several hit movies, including XXX Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, and The Devil's Rejects. He also acted in Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror, Delta Farce, Grindhouse, Rob Zombie's Halloween, Valley of Angels, and Urban Justice, where he co-starred with Steven Seagal. He made numerous television appearances too, guest starring in shows such as Monk, Desperate Housewives, Stargate, Atlantis, and Breaking Bad. Trejo also lent his voice to the animated series King of the Hill, playing the characters Enrique and Octavio. In 2004, Trejo ventured into the world of video games, appearing in Def Jam, Fight for NY, where he played a villainous role as an enforcer for Snoop Dogg's character. His in-game character was named after him and utilized his signature street fighting style, making him a featured fighter and a playable character in the game. In 2005, Danny Trejo's life story was told in the independent biographical film Champion, which features interviews and comments from some of his close friends and colleagues, including Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer, Steve Buscemi, and Robert Rodriguez. While this was a heartfelt highlight of his personal life, unfortunately, his marital life was the opposite. His marriage with Debbie Shreve had fallen apart, so that same year, they separated. In 2006, Danny Trejo reprised his role in the PSP video game Def Jam Fight for NY. The Takeover. After years of marriage, Trejo filed for divorce from his wife Debbie in 2009, ending their long-standing union. In 2010, he faced a new challenge, battling liver cancer, but he didn't let it stop his money moves. That same year, Trejo appeared in The Fight, Lights Out, a PlayStation Move game, where he played the role of Duke, the instructor for the player's character. He also made a cameo appearance as himself in the Escalation map pack for Call of Duty, Black Ops, specifically on the zombie map Call of the Dead. A year later, Trejo relocated to the San Fernando Valley to be closer to his mother, who had suffered a knee injury. Sadly, she passed away in 2013. Before he moved, Trejo had lived in Venice, a neighborhood in Los Angeles, California. In 2013, Danny Trejo invited KTTV into his home to share his inspiring story of transformation from a former convict to a Hollywood star. Fast forward to January 2016, Trejo expanded his involvement. He debuted in the culinary world by launching a series of successful restaurants in Los Angeles. These included Trejo's Tacos, Trejo's Cantina, and Trejo's Coffee and Donuts, as well as his own brand of beer, coffee, and merchandise. He also had plans to later launch a unique dessert, which he called ice cream sandwiches. Trejo's Donuts, a popular destination for sweet treats, is situated on the northeast corner of Santa Monica Boulevard and Highland Avenue. In 2017, the Los Angeles Times recognized Trejo's innovative rainbow cauliflower tacos as one of the top 10 recipes of the year. Executive chef Mason Royal oversees the culinary operations of Trejo's restaurants. In 2018, they expanded their donut business with a food truck in Las Vegas, Nevada. The following year, Trejo took on a new role as the ring announcer for Karate Combat, a full-contact karate league in their Hollywood season. He even received a karate lesson from renowned sensei and former UFC champion Georges St-Pierre. In August 2019, Danny Trejo heroically sprang into action when he witnessed a car collision at an intersection. He helped rescue a 5-year-old child trapped in an overturned SUV, carefully extracting them from their child safety seat. When asked about the incident, Trejo humbly stated that everything good that has happened to him has happened as a direct result of helping someone else. Later that year, Trejo was honored to be added as a playable character in the Battle Royale mode of the popular video game Call of Duty, Black Ops 4. He also partnered with Sean Plott to promote Magic: The Gathering Arena. As of 2020, Danny Trejo's culinary empire had expanded to 8 restaurants. In 2021, he showcased his vocal talents on Season 5 of The Masked Singer, performing as Raccoon, before being eliminated in his second appearance. Trejo found humor in the judges' misconception that Danny DeVito was behind the raccoon mask, laughing about it in a subsequent interview. That year, he also ventured into the wilderness with Bear Grylls on Running Wild with Bear Grylls, braving the Moab Desert in an exciting episode. Trejo then played the role of one of the many forms of Mr. World in the first 2 episodes of the 3rd and final season of American Gods. Later, he brought his talents to the Disney Plus puppet comedy Special Muppets Haunted Mansion, voicing the Ghost of Hewitt. Danny Trejo continued to expand his gaming credits with a guest appearance in the DLC expansion game Far Cry 6, Danny and Danny vs. Everybody. In 2022, he made his highly anticipated debut in the Star Wars universe, playing a Rancor Keeper in the Disney Plus series The Book of Boba Fett, specifically in the episode Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa. Trejo also showed off his skateboarding skills in the 2D platforming game Ollie Ollie World, appearing as a character in the fictional Redlandia. He also reprised his iconic role as Machete in the 3rd DLC pack for the game Scum. In 2023, Danny Trejo was announced as a celebrity star in the game Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, where he lends his voice to the character of Dwight Mendez, a Hawaiian mob boss. Trejo has also had the opportunity to contribute to other notable games, including Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto: Vice City Stories, where he voiced the character Umberto Robina, who bears a resemblance to him. He went on to voice the character Raul Alfonso Tejada, a ghoul in Fallout, New Vegas. His voice and a character inspired by him are featured in the game Guns of Boom. He then made a brief appearance in the introduction of Greg Hastings' tournament Paintball Max D, a game that boasts the tagline, "Play for real," and features Be Real and DJ Lethal. Currently, Danny Trejo is happy to be the father of 3 successful children. His first child, Danny, was born in 1981. Gilbert, his second child who followed in his footsteps to become an actor and director, was born 7 years after Danny, and Danielle, born in 1990, is an actress. While Danny Trejo's eldest son, affectionately known as Danny Boy, was born from his relationship with Diana Walton, whom he dated from 1978 to 1983, his younger 2 children aren't. Gilbert and Danielle are from his relationship with Maeve Cromie, which lasted from 1986 to 1997. Trejo sees himself as a father to all, even supporting Cromie to raise her 2 sons from a relationship she had after they had separated. As of now, Trejo's Tacos has expanded its reach to Detroit, Michigan, and Notting Hill, London. Trejo, a Democrat, occasionally engages in political activities and uses his platform to make his voice heard. Which of Danny Trejo's movies have you seen, and what do you think about his life story so far? We would love to know in the comments. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next updates. Also, click the next video on your screen to enjoy more exciting content.